Hey, everybody, it's Nick.
And John, and we wanted to make sure that you know today is Giving Tuesday. Not just Giving Tuesday for giving, but we want you to do that, but Giving Tuesday podcasts. We wanted to recommend 3 other podcasts to you that you might like to listen to. So, Nick, take it away for yours.
All right. Well, this is a popular one. We did want to focus on ones that you really might not have heard of or that haven't quite hit the top of the charts yet. But there's one that I just love so much that I have to mention, and that's Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard. It's one of my favorites. I really enjoy the cadence that he does and how he talks to his guests and how he's just so open. So that's the one that I really, really would like to recommend. My second one that I want to recommend is Aviator Cast. For those of you who are interested in aviation, this is done by Angle of Attack. He's also a great YouTuber and flight instructor. It's a really good podcast. The last one that I'm going to recommend is more for people that are they live in Nashville, but if you're interested in anything about Nashville, there's a really great podcast called Curious Nashville. They don't have many up there right now, but they're slowly putting them together and putting them out, and it's done by Nashville Public Radio. Those are my top 3 that I wanted to share with everybody. How about you, John?
The one extra I'll add to our list is Bring Dad a Beer. And mainly because we actually met those 2 guys and we thought it was kind of a brilliant setup how they had it all put together. It's cute, not only Bring Dad a Beer, but it's actually 2 dads who live across the street from each other, and they just talk sports. And of course they probably wouldn't have much to talk about right now, but it's a fun show to listen to. Maybe add it to your to-do list on this Giving Tuesday podcast. Yes, you do.
Yep.
So this is fun.
Good morning, John.
It's
good
not
afternoon,
as
good
fun.
evening. Why is it not as fun?
Good evening, Nick. It's sometimes fun that we can see each other, but the listeners don't know. I guess maybe if we were in the same room, they wouldn't know anyway, but
No. Well, when our
It's just-
audio's off, it doesn't sound like we're in the same room. But when our audio is actually good, which I think it is right now, it does sound like we're in the same room, and they can't tell. That being said, so folks,
Yeah.
we use a system called Squadcast, and
Yep.
and though we have had some issues, and it was all on my end, it was connectivity issues. Excuse me. This platform has been wonderful. It really
Mhm.
has. And one of the things that it allows us to do is, because John and I are in 2 different places, we can actually see each other while we talk. And that makes for a better conversation. It also means we're not going to talk over each other as much, even though we're very opinionated, and we're going to do that anyways, where I'm very opinionated.
You're so full of crap. I can't
I
believe you
know.
said that. Oh, sorry.
I
I just
know.
wanted to talk over you.
You did a great job, but I saw you and I stopped. And you can also see my hand gestures as I'm actually talking to you. I'm not Italian. I don't think I have any Italian in me, but I like to talk with my hands. So anyway, Squadcast allows us to see each other through video, and it's a fairly young company. I think it came out in 2015 or 2016, but they are revolutionizing the podcast industry by the offerings that they give through their system. One of which is, or planned to be, the fact that we can actually take the video recording as well and then publish that to a place like YouTube or something like that. So eventually we will be able to record our video and put it up there. Why don't we use Zoom, you might ask? Well, because there are some other things in the back end, like echo canceling software and filters that actually run, our audio runs through before it's delivered to us, that makes it easier for us to edit. And that's why we choose to use Squadcast over something like Zoom to record our podcast, even though a lot of people do use Zoom, and it's a fantastic platform. Probably, I would say they're neck and neck on which one we have chosen. The other thing, and why I'll just be perfectly blunt and honest about this, we haven't made the switch over to Zoom permanently because we already paid for a year of Squadcast. So that being said, And it's also a lot easier to use the file management system and the backup system for Squadcast versus Zoom. That was my little pitch. I mean, that was kind of they are technically an affiliate.
Seems to be a bevy of reasons why we're with Squadcast. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. All that to say that eventually we will have the ability to post our video, and I think it'll be kind of fun to do that.
I'm psyched about that. I really am. Not because, well, let's face it, we're not anything special to look at.
No, but we look good today. We're wearing hats. Hats always make us look better.
Hats and headphones.
Hats and headphones. Yeah, you look very dapper. You actually look like a podcaster now.
Except I'm holding my stupid microphone until I get an awesome tripod or whatever you have for yours. Oh, yours is like a clamp connector.
Mine is a clamp connector. You might have something coming in the mail as a present soon, John.
Well, then thanks for telling me, because I just ordered. No, I didn't. But you should actually tell me what to get. I did do well with my headphones, though.
You did. I like them. They look good. And they're better. They're actually better than mine. So we were both about to talk. They look good. They look good. That's all that matters. It really is all that matters. Because you said that, and why I know so much about what's coming out with Squadcast is I actually was on a Squadcast webinar thing. I don't think it was yesterday, but maybe it was the day before. It was late in the day, so I don't really remember. I was very tired. But they were talking about all the new things that were coming out, and they were also talking about headphones and microphones. And I don't remember the name of the one that came in number one, but the brand that came in number two for what podcasters use the most and have the most luck with are Audio-Technica. Isn't that what your headphones are?
That's what they are. Can you see?
There you go. Audio-Technica. Yeah. And when I did video production way back in the early 2000s, that's so long ago. It doesn't seem like that long.
Was it still black and white?
It was still black and white. Yeah. I changed everything to black and white. Absolutely. That was what we used for our audio gear, was all Audio-Technica. And the reason we used it is you can actually take some of the Audio-Technica gear. I'll use wireless microphones as the example. You have a wireless mic pack that you put on your belt, and you run the lavalier mic up through the shirt.
Yep.
You can take that wireless, and someone at an NAB conference in Las Vegas, a big conference room. He was working for Audio-Technica. He had his Audio-Technica mic pack. He said, "This is why I love the company I work for." Unhooked it, pulled it off his belt, and tossed it across the room. The mic pack hit the back wall, dropped on the floor. He walked over, he picked it up, plugged his XLR mic back in, and started talking. He said, "They're bulletproof."
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That's pretty cool. And you know what the weird part was? And I wasn't at that conference, but the weird part was when he whipped it, it actually hit a guy that worked for him called Mike Pack and hit him in the head.
See, I thought you were going to say when he whipped it, then he went and nay-nayed.
No. Wow. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Well, you know what I don't like about those mic packs is that when you're wearing one and then you go to the restroom and forget to shut it off, it broadcasts it to the entire room.
It does. Here's the one thing I have to say about that. If that ever happens to you, it's not because you forgot to shut it off. It's because you pissed off the soundboard operator.
Well, it depends. And you're absolutely correct if there is a technician and a soundboard guy and all of that. But often in hotel rooms, as you know, they set it and forget it. And there is one tech who's handling several rooms if there are multiple sessions going on.
That is true.
At the same time.
That is true. Very true.
So yeah, it's never happened.
And which is funny because when we first started our podcast today, I actually, John came on and he's got his new headphones and he couldn't hear me. So he was getting upset because he thought his headphones stopped working.
Damn it.
And I'm looking on my computer, I'm looking at Squadcast, I'm making sure all the settings are right. And I'm like, why is John not hearing me? I look because I can see his settings and he had everything set up right. And I'm like, what's going on? Then I finally decided to look over at my soundboard and someone had muted my channel on the soundboard. I'm going to blame someone else because I doubt it was me because I never hit mute, but it probably was me. But someone had hit the mute button and I didn't know. So I understand what you're talking about, just in reverse.
It's the Steve Martin comedy syndrome, where back in the old days he did a bit about the correct number of speakers to have with your stereo system. He said, you start out with the 2 speakers and ooh, stereo, it's awesome. And then, you think, well, I'm listening to this and I'm going, wow, this sucks. And so, then you move to the 4 speakers and wow, your 4-speaker surround sound is awesome. And I'm listening to this, he says, and it sucks. So I went with the 10-speaker setup and I'm listening to this thing and man, the speakers are everywhere and it sucks. And then I went with the Dodecaphonic, which is the number of speakers next to infinity. And I'm listening to this thing and it sounds like shit. Hey, maybe it's the needle on the record player. Steve Martin comedy from many moons ago. And oddly enough, I now have a new turntable. I think
you talked about that. Yeah.
It works pretty cool. It's I have these little dinky speakers, good speakers. They're Klipsch. I'm sure you know the name.
Yes, I know Klipsch very well.
Very nice, but there's very little low end. We had them for mid-range speakers with surround sound years ago. Anyway, but so not a lot of sound or a lot of power coming to them, but I'm sure that makes my new condo neighbor happy that I can't crank
I'm sure. Yep. So my editing setup, when I was talking about the Audio-Technica audio microphones, my speakers that I edited with were Klipsch. Everything was Klipsch. I love that.
It's a
brand.
good name.
It's very, very good.
Really good name. And they're just really quality for small speakers.
Yep. Yeah. So anyway, before we jumped on,
I have a turntable on my console behind my desk. And
do you do some scratching every once in a while?
Down and looked at it and just shook her head.
Do you do some audio scratching?
Yes. Wacka, wacka, wacka. No, I don't, but thank you for making me do that.
So some of you already know that because you're on our team, that every Friday we have a call. And on the Friday call, one thing we've been doing since we've been home doing the COVID-19 thing is they pick a person and it is what's up with that person. Well, last week, John was that person and he nominated me for this past week. So when we did it, one of the questions was, what is one habit that you've started, or what was it? Is that how it goes? What was the habit that you started, or what's the one thing that you would tell everyone that embarrasses you? Something like that. So my biggest thing right now is TikTok. I've started watching a lot of TikTok, and there are a lot of people that are like me who didn't really knew it existed, didn't really pay attention to it, didn't really want to get into another social media network. But then, of course, with all of this going on, we're all jumping in with both feet. And a lot of people are doing, the whole point of this story was a lot of people that are posting are, again, people in our age groups, John, a lot of people posting stuff about having house parties with record players and doing the scratching and stuff. But of course, it's there. You can't hear them actually scratching. It's scratching from the music that they've chosen. That just reminded me of that when we were talking about that.
Yeah, that TikTok. I'm so impressed by you. Now, isn't it? And I thought I saw this. Well, I initially looked at it some time ago, but isn't it like a 15-second max that you can post?
No, I think you can go longer. I don't know. I haven't posted anything. I've only watched it right now. Have been tempted to post a couple of times, just haven't been brave enough to do that yet. So when I first started watching it, I didn't sign up for it because you're allowed to just kind of go through all the feeds and just kind of watch what they recommend. And then my daughter started wanting to watch it more often. But of course, there aren't a lot when you're just doing the regular feed. There's some that are funny and then there's some that are very inappropriate. So because you haven't signed up, the algorithm hasn't kind of captured what you want to look at.
Yeah,
So
right.
I went ahead and signed up, and then I started saving things that I'm interested in. Like I think I don't know if Steve Martin is one of them, but he probably would be if I found him. But I just started following Anthony Hopkins today because he's joined TikTok. He put his first TikTok up yesterday, I think. And so yeah, I've followed a bunch of people. So now if you go through my feed, most of them, 90% of them are appropriate for little kids. But yeah,
what a shock. You've got,
right.
you have, let's see, Barney. You
Yeah.
I love you. I'm sure that is one of your selected ones.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
Ice Princess, all of those.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's a lot of dancers because she likes dance and stuff like that. It's a lot of artists, and then of course
Mm-hmm.
my movies and airplane TikToks. So there are a lot of people jumping on right now. There was actually a TikTok. I should send it to you, John, because I know I sent it to Matt Smolek. Shout out to Mr. Smolek. But
what up, Matt?
I'm
and I are actually doing some work together this next week, so I'm excited about that.
That'll be fun.
Yes, it will.
Let's see if I can find it. So you watched the presentation, and now I'm just filling time while I try to find it. I sent you the or you saw the presentation. What did you think of the TikToks that I put up there? Is there one that stood out to you?
Well, I liked the one that showed the progression of being in quarantine, where you're where at the first day you're at home, you're like, what, TikTok? Wow, that's stupid. I can't believe it. And then after a week, you're, oh yeah, I mean, I see what they're doing, and yeah, it's fine. And then 2 weeks later, you're looking at it, and about a month after you've been in quarantine, you're posting crap just because you are so tired of being in quarantine. The dad dance moves seems to be like a good idea for you. So I enjoyed that one. That was good. And the others are several of the others. A couple of the others I had trouble hearing the audio. So sorry. But that's an example maybe where Zoom does not maybe make that sound well. And that's the thing with Zoom. It's become popular so quickly and coinciding with all the quarantine time that people have and working from home, that it often has minor issues. And not necessarily from the platform, but from connectivity that people are going through. The internet is just really fragile, it seems like these days. A lot of webinars I've been to, you have to log off and log back in again, but just in order to hear the content, to refresh.
Yeah. So I just texted it to you. If it made it to your phone. But I want you to watch it and describe it to people because I think it's hilarious.
Well, look at
so John is pulling up his phone right now. I'll start the context and then he can fill it in. So it's a TikTok and it says companies thriving during COVID.
Companies thriving during COVID. You have an Apple, don't you?
Yeah.
An Apple phone.
Is it not?
I may not be able to hear it or anything. We'll see. Well, my son has the same thing, and it just doesn't convert well to Android, but that's okay. Let me just see if I can get it. Let me turn up my media first, and let's see. Wow. That was kind of weird. Well, it is such a look how tiny it is.
Oh, okay.
Look how tiny. I'll right down to the bottom, so it's tough to see.
It's a guy wearing a suit and shorts. So it says companies thriving through COVID-19. He turns around and it says Zoom. We get hold on. It's going too fast. It says Zoom. We get 10 million users a day. And then the next one is TikTok, and it's his wife dancing. TikTok, we get 100 million users a day. And then it gets to the climax of the music. And then all of a sudden it shows Pornhub. And
Really?
it doesn't say anything after that because everyone knows. I mean, the original two are sitting there clinking glasses, and then they have the shocked face, the shock looked on their face because here comes the Pornhub guy, and he's just dancing because it's COVID.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes, it was truly the size of it, and that's the other thing. Apple coming to Android phones is I cannot enlarge it, and the size is literally maybe 1 inch high by half an inch wide. It's impossible to see.
That should tell you a lot, John.
Yeah, it actually does tell me a lot that they don't shake hands. And
that's not where I was going with that.
Here's the thing about Apple that you should know is that Android outsells Apple like 2 to 1.
It does, but that's not a fair comparison because Android is an operating system. We could go on and on about this. Android is an operating system and is on multiple brand phones. So of course it's going to have a higher sale volume. Here's the other thing though. What's the iOS fail rate versus an Android fail rate?
622.
It's Apple fails about 5 or 6% of the time, whereas an Android phone goes somewhere between 35 and 40% of the time. That's their failure rate.
Huh? What do you mean failure rate?
What does that measure? Overall failure rate. Do what?
Oh, okay. So I've had this for 4 years, maybe.
Yeah,
this
I'm surprised.
Android phone, which happens to be a Galaxy S8.
Okay,
and it is a very nice phone. Has been highly rated for many, many years in the same realm as Apple. And I'm not sure what you would call a failure rate. Mine has yet to fail on anything or any element of
well, then you fall into that 60%,
35%. You mean 35% of them at some point fail?
So I don't know the semantics of it, but yeah, that's what I would assume.
Not semantics.
Well, okay, so
facts, mister.
I have my very first iPhone.
Do you know that 98% of the iPhones fail when you strike them with a hammer? Did you know that?
Only 98%. See, that's still pretty good. I mean, you still got
there
that
are 2% that somehow live through that. I think it's 3% of Androids that will survive a hammer strike. Just so you know.
Yeah. Well, bring it on over. Bring your phone on over. We'll test that.
Because I still have my construction site.
I still have my first iPhone from like 2009.
That's awesome. You know what it's doing? Works. Propping your door open. Probably
it is. Oh no, it is. I mean, but it still works. I can still turn it on.
No, but it still works. The door does not close.
Exactly. It's useful. It hasn't failed yet.
I have a MacBook Air for my work computer, and I do like it. There are some things about it that drive me crazy, but only because it feels like the PC and the Macs, they purposely do things. So Windows and Apple purposely do things to differentiate themselves in usability from one or the other. And it's just like, come on, can we not just get together?
Can't we all just get along?
Kind of. Because switching back and forth is really a hassle.
Yeah.
And I think what I miss the most is the backspace.
I can see that. But I think they are just similar enough. And there are a bunch of companies that do that. In my past life, I was also a photographer.
Yes.
I am a Canon person. So I use Canon DSLRs. That's what I'm used to. But when I taught, my students had the option between, and they had a lot of options, but really the two that were the biggest that everyone purchased were either Canon or Nikon. Mm-hmm. Both phenomenal cameras. Both had their pluses and their pros and their cons.
Yep.
And both were used in different areas much better than the other. But everything was backwards on both. So if I picked up a Nikon after using a Canon, I could figure it out, but I would have to reverse everything because it was backwards. And that was really the only difference.
F-stop is on the left, not on the right.
Pretty much, yeah. It's the thumb movements, depending on how you have your camera set up. Mine is a dial and a dial on here and a dial here. The dial up here changes the shutter speed, and the dial down here changes the aperture. Nikon is the reverse. That's how stupid it is. But
yep. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say they are definitely different systems as a whole. Nikon has better glass, in my opinion. And what I mean by glass is the lenses.
Charles
so when
Zeiss.
you take a picture, they're just a lot more sharp versus a Canon, which is it has kind of dull edges. But Canon does that on purpose because Canon, in my opinion, again, this is all my opinion. Other photographers will argue with me on it, but Canon is better used in a studio for portraits. It's still very clear, very sharp, but it has softer edges, so it makes your models look a little bit better. Again,
awesome. We could use that.
Yeah, we could, especially us.
And what were some of the old tricks that they used to do in movie making so many years ago, that when to make especially the females, not that there's any significance to that, but to make them look better in close-ups, they did it with, remember Moonlighting? You're too young for that, but you may have heard Bruce Willis and
yeah, I know Moonlighting very well.
Who was the female actor?
That was
actress.
Oh crap! If you wouldn't have asked me,
my fault.
God,
Sorry,
Sybil Shepherd.
Thank you. She was famous for having them either like shoot through a nylon or smearing like petroleum jelly.
To soften the look.
To soften it. I'm like,
well, you can also do that with a lot of light. Really blow out your subject.
Lighting,
you can soften.
That. Yes, of course. And of course the cells, the cellulose that would change the. See, aren't you impressed that I know so much about that?
So impressed. We called them gels, but yeah.
Damn it. I could remember it, but fortunately I didn't. Hey, I learned what gaffer tape was, so I was fine with that. They put it over my mouth, and
I was gonna say you just said what I was thinking.
You're welcome.
Gaffer, you can't. Gaffer's tape is just as useful as duct tape. You should anyone in the arts should always have a roll or two of Gaffer's tape.
But it's describe how it's different from duct tape, because it is.
It is. It's softer for one. It's not. Yeah. I would kind of describe duct tape as metallic in feel and look on the outside, not on the sticky side. Yeah. Gaff tape is more of a fabric tape. Hockey players would probably know what Gaffer's tape is a little bit more, because it's very similar to the tape you put on your stick. I don't know, people that don't play hockey, I don't know what it would compare to. A little bit more like medical, like if you're taping yourself up for a football game, that's the same type of material.
Oh, that's but that's more of an adhesive tape.
That is more of an adhesive tape. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Gaffer's tape is similar to that in texture, not talking about the function.
Yeah. Right. And I just like it better than duct tape, just because, but it works. Functionality is very similar. To
Gaff tape doesn't usually leave much sticky behind when you pull it up.
That's true. And it's not as fibrous, right? It seems like, as duct tape is.
Yep.
I can't believe we're spending this much time on that.
A tape. That's going to be the title. Tape.
Hey, you know what my new favorite is?
What?
Gorilla tape.
Oh, Gorilla tape's wonderful.
That's
you've been doing some painting?
Well, no. We don't use it for that. No, gosh, no. This is stuff that is like duct tape combined with Gaffer's tape that you actually it's that thick and it's pretty amazing. No, the painting we use the blue tape, the Scotch. I think it's 3M or Scotch. I'm not sure, but that blue painter's tape, not cheap.
Yes,
by the way, but it's
not cheap at all. Because but it's much better. I actually use the green ones. The blue one, for some reason, we can't get it to work. It might be the humidity. I don't know.
Varying levels of stickiness. Yeah, you may be right with the humidity. That's a good thought. Yeah.
Green.
Tape is really one of those things. I like to have. Hold on. I always have Scotch tape, and have had this thing for many, many years. And the Scotch tape, like you'd have in an office, I very seldom use it. And I got like a box of 10 rolls of this tape
Yeah.
5 years ago. I think I still have 4 left. You hardly ever use it, but it's
Nice.
that tape that you want to
Nice.
have just in case. And I know what people are saying.
See,
are they going to continue talking about tape?
Yes, we are.
That was Jim Gack.
So I know you have your Scotch tape there, and see the Scotch I have in my office. I use what? I was going to say the Scotch I have that I use in my office. It gets used a lot, and I usually have to refill it every few days. So
those refills, yeah, I understand.
Yeah. A little harder to get though. You can't go to an office store in many states and find it there.
Well, you can. You might have to go into the general manager's desk drawer. So
Right. Yeah, most of that's empty by the time I get there, though. If you have to deal with me in any sort of store, it's going to be.
Oh, you're a funny man.
Funny looking.
Well, and I can see that right now. You used to say that when we were just audio only, and now, I mean, we're
now
both.
You can see it.
Oh wait, I'm looking at me. Sorry, never mind. There you are.
Yep. I have a face for radio and a voice for silent film. Speaking of voice.
Yes.
Speaking of voice, just before we started, my daughter was up here again, and she's playing Roblox on my iPad. So I handed her some headphones to put in so I wouldn't hear the other side of the conversation. And so one thing that I found during this whole COVID thing is in the beginning, in the first couple of weeks, I would go downstairs, and I've said it many, many times on this podcast before. My office is on the 3rd floor, and that's where I do my recording.
Yep.
But when we started all of this, I was downstairs in the dining room, and my daughter was doing her schoolwork, my wife was working, and I was working. And it worked really, really well until I got on a call. And I've been told now that I speak way too loud when I'm on a call, when I'm on a Zoom call or something like that. They say I yell. I don't think I yell, but they say I yell and I'm really, really loud. So I've been kicked out and put in the office again. So now I've been working from my office. All that to say, Peyton came up here, and when she put the headphones on, she was yelling into the iPad while she was playing. And I'm like, I'm the one who yells. So I had to kick her out. And then John had a funny story about about Sweden. Was it Sweden or Norway?
No. See, there you are, lumping all those Scandinavian countries together.
It was Denmark.
It was Norway. My mother and I many years ago went to Norway. We actually did go to Denver too. Denmark too.
I thought you said that on purpose.
I did. Yeah, we went to Denver too. We went 3 weeks in Europe, and it was many years ago, but it was great in hindsight. I wasn't terribly excited about going because it was just my mom and me. Without getting into long drama stories, it was shortly after my dad passed away, and she had always wanted to go to Europe. So she said, "Would you go with me?" And I was 19, and I'm like, "Okay." Well, it was a great trip. It was a tour, and several kids were on it, people my age, and a couple of hotties that were my age, which was quite convenient. But anyway, it was great. We went to Germany and Switzerland. Oh man, highly recommend Switzerland, Denmark, and then Norway. We had relatives in Norway. My grandma, my mother's mom, is 100% Norwegian. And so I actually studied Norwegian for a semester in college. And I was terrible at it, but it didn't matter. I still got an A. And I was kind of excited about going to Norway because we would have a chance to I can use some of what I learned. And the first lady I got to speak with was a drunk lady who was trying to get on our tour bus to go over the hill into Oslo. And so she stopped us, and she's waving us down. And so we pulled over, and she's hammered and was, talking, yes, jeg er full, which means I am drunk. and we wouldn't let her on the bus, and we kept going. When my mother met some of our Norwegian relatives, I found, and most of them studied English their whole lives, so they could speak the language probably better than we could. But my mother, when she was speaking to them, would lean in and would speak loudly and distinctly with wonderful diction to make it a more understandable conversation. And I said, Mom, they're Norwegian, not deaf. And with Mom, it was, we've teased her about it for years, that she would, if you talk louder and like this, maybe that would be a better way to teach languages. Just speak that way. And
I find
Rosetta
that
Stone
to be true.
Got nothing.
I was just going to say, I just purchased a lifetime subscription to Rosetta Stone, and that's how they teach. They just sit there and they scream at you the entire time in the language.
They got it from my mom.
Yep, that's oh wait, no, I'm sorry, that's Rosetta Stone.
That's the low end version.
Right.
It's Rick Stone. My mom taught me how to teach languages. And,
I can't speak my own, but Oh my goodness. Yes, that
was quite a time.
And did you say in that story, forgive me because I was laughing too hard, that most of your family speaks English already? So that she didn't even really need to be yelling?
You mean most of my family from the States? Yes. Not all of them.
No, I'm not talking about the ones from the States. We know they can't speak English.
Oh.
Just like your podcast partner.
Yes, the Norwegian relatives, and sometimes he speaks English, but he keeps mixing it up,
That's right.
With your lifetime subscription to Rosetta Stone now, you can anything
Rosetta
can come
Stone.
Out. You could be speaking Ugandan at some point.
I definitely could be. I'll put that on my list.
I bet you will, right up there. I know. Anyway, yes, most Europeans speak English, and it's interesting. Speaking of your flying history and my flying interest and desire to fly private planes, that's the international flight language is English.
English, yes, it is.
And so, if you cannot fly anywhere in the world if you do not speak English.
Yep. Isn't that interesting?
It is.
I think it's very so. On that topic,
we're highly qualified.
Were you ever a fan of Ice Pilots? Did you ever watch that television show?
I don't think so.
I would highly recommend it if you're looking for something to binge. You can get it on Amazon Prime. It's called Ice Pilots.
Okay.
And it is a company in the Northwest Territories of Canada, and they are Buffalo Airways. For those who want to look it up, they fly cargo all over northern Alaska and up into the Arctic, and they use nothing but warbirds. So they fly DC-3s, C-46s, C-47s, which is also DC-3, and then a bunch of other. They just in the episodes, because they were done a few years ago, they had just started bringing on Electras. So it's a really fun program to watch, and they're all doing it in sub-zero temperatures. Wow. But anyway, I don't think they're making any more of those programs, or I don't know when they ended it because it was a Canadian production. But Mikey McBrien, who is one of the sons of the owner of Buffalo Airways and one of the stars of the show, he has his own YouTube channel. Last year, they found, restored, and flew during I think it was the 70 or 75th anniversary. I should know my years of the D-Day invasion, because this DC-3 that they found and restored actually flew during D-Day.
Wow.
So they restored it and flew it for the celebration. It was really, really neat. And that was season 1. So season 2, they are building a triplane, a tri-wing airplane, like think of what's the German Red Baron?
The Red Baron.
The Red Baron. Yep. So they're building a Fokker, Fokker. That looks like the Red Baron airplane. And so they're in the process of building that, but Mikey goes and does these little history segments. And one of the favorite things from the program, and also from his not podcast, his YouTube channel, is information about DC-3s or C-47s. And this time he actually was talking about, or they found some plans where the Douglas company teamed up with Fokker right before they went under to build DC-3s or C-47s in Europe. And then they had a whole bunch of different plans. The Swiss had made plans with Fokker to build or to change the DC-3s / C-47s into bombers and all of the different things. They put turrets on it and stuff like that. So it was really, really interesting to see all the different plans. It all stemmed from the previous episode where they actually put a DC-3 on floats. But so there are a set of DC-3s, and I know of one in this country because if anyone's a fan of Flying Chops, they actually have an episode where he is flying a DC-3 from someone who lives in, I think he lives in Florida. He owns his own DC-3. It's from 1938, and it is an actual Douglas Fokker DC-3 rather than a Douglas DC-3. So
interesting.
There, now that's my history lesson for today.
Well, and so I know, I mean, I've heard of the Fokkers before, and one of my favorite, I think it was a YouTube video that I watched, is all of these. So if you fly, you know that the air traffic control will give you directions. So set your heading, and they'll, tell you what to do and where to go, and you have to repeat it back to them before you execute it. And so there was a commercial airliner, I want to say it was a Delta flight, and he was told to follow a Fokker, which is a small aircraft, and he's in a 737, and they said Delta 737, follow the Fokker in for approach and turn left for runway 27 right or whatever. And so he goes, I've always wanted to say this. Roger, Delta Boeing 737 following the little Fokker. Got it. Something like that. He obviously did it in the airline pilot voice where Roger, I'll be following the little Fokker. But anyway, it was beautiful, and he laughed about it. And I've wanted to say this for a long time, he said.
That's hilarious.
Very funny. I'll follow the little Fokker.
Well, follow the little Fokker. That's yeah. So I'll be interested to see what the Fokker ends up looking like. They're having a lot of trouble putting it together. But the interesting thing, if you guys are interested, look up Mikey McBryan. It's MikeymcBryan. I'll put a link in the show notes. But
do it.
Every dollar that he makes from this YouTube channel goes into restoring the Fokker.
Oh, cool.
And went into restoring the DC-3. So it's interesting to follow that along. Yeah. So that's
very cool.
Yeah.
The one of the YouTube channels I subscribe to is 310. So I can't think what it's called. It's 310 Flight or whatever. But it's this guy who owns a twin engine retractable plane that he and his wife just fly all over. He's from outside of Chicago, and it just posts their flights, everything from, not the midair stuff where they're, flying for 2 hours or anything like that, but takeoffs and landings, and sometimes what they engage in when they get to their destination. But it's really kind of fun. And, anybody who enjoys flying a plane enjoys the whole takeoff and landing. Oh, and his wife's hot, as we talked earlier, that, you have to have thumbnails, and yeah, his wife provides some pretty good thumbnails, but it's really interesting, and they're cool people. And, yeah, so it's kind of an interesting channel.
It is interesting. I follow a lot of people that do that. I'm trying to look up one of them right now because I can't remember the name of the channel, but it's not a V-tail Bonanza, but he flies a Bonanza, and he's a young kid.
Oh, Dr. Killer.
No, he doesn't fly a Dr. Killer. He flies a T-tail.
That would
Bonanza.
be a V-tail though, isn't it?
That would be a V-tail. Yep. Dr. Killer.
See how I remember that stuff?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
But
see, I have better things to do with my brain.
I want to say Gutweiler is his last name, but I can't,
Okay.
for some reason, I can't find it. But he's got an Alaska trip that he did. So he's got several episodes, and it's fun watching him fly that thing in to places. And one of them, he landed on a road in Idaho to go have a burger at this gas station.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, and I see people do that all the time on the channels that I watch,
There are a
because
lot of them.
there are a lot of people that do that, but most of them are they're backcountry pilots. So they've got the big tires, they're the STOL aircrafts that land in a short distance. A Bonanza does not land in a short distance.
No.
And it's not. Now, I will say, and this is something my stepdad and my stepbrother used to say to me all the time, the landing gear on a Bonanza is built like a fighter with the ability to land on an aircraft carrier. That's how sturdy they are. So it can land anywhere. It can land off airport if you really want it to. But they're not built to do that. They're built to be fast, but watching him fly this thing in and almost hitting cars as he's taking off in one point is really, really fun to watch. So
yes,
I think his last name is Gutweiler.
Cool. Well, the one I was talking about is 310-310 Pilot, Pilot, and it's just very, very fun and pretty cool stuff. But yeah, I've subscribed to a few, and of course I can't find any right now, but a few.
Of course not, because we want to. We want to, and we want to talk about it, so we can't find it.
Well, and I have 300 some of them.
Exactly.
Subscribed to, so it's crazy. But anyway, yeah, you were talking about the bush planes with the great big tires, and this guy can literally land almost anywhere. And I said literally. I know you love that.
Literally.
And oh my gosh, and it's just, you've got 500-foot runway. He easily is able to do that, and it just blows me away.
Yeah, it's the ones that I watch that are backcountry pilot. Where is it now? I can't find those. I just saw the off airport ones here.
You know what people love? They love when we're scrolling to YouTube channels to find out ones too.
But at least we're talking while we're doing it.
I swear, Nick and Quaddy had me enthralled.
Yes, as they were searching their YouTube channels.
Nothing gets my interest more than when they scroll through those channels that they like to watch.
But I still maintain we're a lot better than we used to be, because we would actually stop talking while we were doing it, and now we can do it while we're talking.
I've been scrolling through the entire show today.
Me too. Well, I'll say there's one channel I watch that I really, really like, called Aviation 101. He is a CFI, which means he's a flight instructor, but he's again a young kid. My favorite series of his is when he went to Alaska and did some bush flying. So I would, because he actually teamed up with one of the other guys that I follow that I can't find, who lives in Alaska and does a bunch of bush flying.
Okay, so you were talking about shows to start binging on, and one I was thinking of was Mountain Men. Have you ever seen that?
Oh yeah, I've seen. Yes, I shouldn't just say my father-in-law Craig watches it all the time. Yeah,
love me some Craig. What a cool guy.
Who doesn't love Craig?
He's just.
I think he should have his own podcast.
Yeah. I think he should too, and I think if we adapted his way of speaking, where we're a little bit more West Virginia. Is it West Virginia, or he's just over the border, isn't he?
He's in Tennessee. Yeah, East Tennessee.
Tennessee, yeah, but not far from the border.
Nope.
He's got that awesome accent, and he probably doesn't notice any accent.
No,
but he has a wonderful way of speaking.
Yeah.
I love to listen to him. Anyway,
we have a new neighbor. I think we talked about my new neighbor. I did hear him talking in the backyard the other day, and he's got the same accent. So he must be from East Tennessee.
Was he in your backyard or his own backyard?
No, he was in his own backyard.
Okay.
We're close. We're fairly close. Yep, Matt. It's Matt Guthmiller. Guthmiller. Guthmiller.
You finally found it.
I finally found it. Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Well, so Mountain Men is interesting. And one of the guys, I think his name is Marty, is in Alaska someplace. And he has a little, it's like a, there's a name for it. He built it. And so it's a tiny plane, but he uses it to haul stuff and to go back and forth to his actual house. And it's kind of fun watching some of his flying episodes.
One of my favorite bush pilots is Trent Palmer. I know we've talked about
because he's scrolling.
You did not lose me. I'm right here.
I can see that you're right there.
Yeah.
But I could also see you have drool running down to the side of your mouth, so I know you're.
Well, it's because I'm looking at airplanes. No, the one of the ones that I watch
during
a lot
your
of.
favorite podcast. I like to look at airplanes with my pants down.
No. They knock my pants off. There's a difference.
Wow. Okay.
Anyway, Trent Palmer is one of them. He's one of my.
Trent. Yep.
I knew you watched his. And Jonas Marcinko.
He's the guy who he's got the hot girlfriend that he just proposed to.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I know way too much about these people.
Those are my three that I would recommend. There are a few others, but they're not quite as much fun. They're fun for me, but they're not
for normal people. That's just
for normal people. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
The rest of them is they're more procedures and stuff like that. These guys are just going out and having fun. Say, hey, look what my airplane can do.
Oh, did you hear that they canceled Oshkosh for this year?
No, I didn't hear that.
But the fly-in, EAA fly-in.
Yeah, I caught wind of what you were saying in there.
I knew you knew.
Yeah, that's sad.
Not everybody does. They canceled the city of Oshkosh. Yes, they're going to call it Fond du Lac now. So, which is outside of Oshkosh.
Oh, that's
he's
funny.
A funny man, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So the EAA fly-in is not going to happen this year, unfortunately.
It's too bad,
but whatever.
Is that that's the first time since it started that it's been canceled, isn't it? I think
to my knowledge,
historically.
Yeah, and I don't know. Do you remember when it started, or do you know that?
I don't.
I bet you can find out because
I bet
you are right in front of your computer, and you and Google are close friends. Or I can just ask, because I have my Google. What do they call them? The little mini. Okay, Google. When was the EAA fly-in established?
1953.
September 1953. According to Wikipedia, the first EAA fly-in was held in September 1953 at what is now Timmerman Field as a small part of the Milwaukee Air Pageant. Fewer than 150 people registered as visitors the first year, and only a handful of airplanes attended the event. To find out more, look for the...
This girl is a wealth of information.
She really is. She really is.
She's pretty amazing.
Did you hear me? Because I called it before she said it.
You said 1953, but you didn't say September. So it could have been any time in 1953 as far as you are concerned.
1953, by the way, is the year that my mom came over from Europe. That was when they immigrated.
Well, yeah, but what month?
Oh, God, I don't know. I remember the name of the boat.
Oh, well, how can we prove you wrong?
I don't.
What's the name of the boat?
The Big Bear? No, the Big Bear.
Okay. All right. I'm just teasing you. Well, that's awesome, though. That's very cool. 1953.
Yep.
That is very cool. And she emigrated from Germany, right?
Nope. Try again. It's close. It's very close. She came over with her wooden shoes, if that gives you a hint.
Oh, from Holland.
Yep, Holland.
Holland. I think that's the way it's pronounced.
Yes.
But she's
no.
German.
Well,
you're
technically,
German, though.
No, she's Dutch. Nope, Dutch.
You though, told me you have because remember the dogs you had and
reparations from World War II, not because they're German, because they're Jewish.
Yeah, I knew that, but you had.
They have Jews in Holland too.
Oh gosh, no, but you had
German dogs. Yes.
You had German dogs, but I did not know that poodles because they were
Were
poodles,
German.
right?
Right. Yep.
Or
Standard
German.
poodles. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
standard poodles, automatic poodles, though, they're not from Germany. They're from Japan, I think.
Oh, I have no idea.
Standard transmission versus
Yeah, I got you.
automatic.
Yeah, I got you.
You did not.
Okay, I'll admit that I didn't quite go there. I went towards guns. I was going, standard versus automatic, and I was going to say semi-automatic is the right way of saying it, John, but
you don't call it a standard gun. It's a standard gun.
No, I'm just telling you where my brain went. I'm not saying it was right. I'm just saying that's where my brain went.
I thought you were trying to justify it. No, you were not. Well done. Okay.
Yeah. No, I have I ever not admitted when I'm not right? Wait a second.
So seldom.
Oh, yeah, it does happen very seldom. But I'm going to leave you on this note, John, before we get into our wrapping up of the.
Are we stopping the podcast, or are you just?
We are going to. I hit a wall, and I don't think I can go any further. Obviously, I'm wrong, and it's going to take me a while to recover from that. John, did you know that wrong? Speaking of wrong, is spelled wrong in the dictionary?
Of course it is. How else would it be spelled?
Exactly.
Do you think
my daughter still hasn't figured out what I meant by that? I told her that joke, and she's like, "I don't get it." And then she's trying to think how it's spelled, and then yeah.
Is there something in how you said it, though? Do you know that wrong? You mean RONG? Right. I mean wrong. Sorry, I can work myself into these frenzies. And
you can, and that's why we rely on our listeners to give us some feedback about your little spirals that you get into.
Which I do, but you do too.
I do very much, absolutely. But we would love to hear from our listeners about our spiralization. It's a nice big that I couldn't say. Yes. On our social media or on our website. Or you know what? Here's the other thing. You can go up to our website. You can click on any of the social media buttons and talk to us. You can click on YouTube and go watch all of our podcasts, even though it's all you're going to see is the squiggly lines going across the waveforms.
Which I like.
I do like that as well.
It's a lot easier on the eye than looking at our hot faces.
Exactly. You can see all of our affiliate links, not just the ones that we mentioned, but you can see all of our affiliate links up there.
Yep.
What else can they get from our website, John?
Oh my gosh, there's just a plethora of things they can get up there, Nick. Certainly
they can get on our
old
mailing
episodes.
List.
They can also get on our mailing list, and we will send you mail. And most of it is just going to be stuff that you do not want. It's junk mail. But if you find you're running low on that, yeah, actually they will. I think a lot of places, encourage you to give your email address, and they don't tell you they're going to send you junk mail. I think we need the opposite approach. We're going to send you crap. And if you are low on crap in your mailbox, where it'll come through the inbox rather than the junk mail folder, we're your guys.
Absolutely.
We'll
John, you couldn't have said it better. You are a genius marketer. That is a genius marketing move right there.
Isn't it, though?
And on that note, we'll see you next week.
See ya.